Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Lorenz Dean, and we're here with Stories from the Road to the Ring. And the star of Stories from the Road to the Ring is none other than the legend himself, rugged Ronnie Garvin. How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great. Good, good. Can't complain at my age. Don't do any good.
Good, good, good. Hey, listen. Oh man. So we got a couple of interesting things that's been developing since we last spoke. Well, I just wanna before we get started, I'm live right now on YouTube. So if you guys see me looking up from time to time, I'm actually looking at Rugged Ronnie Garvin. That's on Skype right now. We're doing a video and audio Skype, and it's on top, and then you guys are on the bottom as far as the live part on the YouTube. So if you see me looking up from time to time, which I will be doing, because I'm talking to Ron, just keep that in mind. And then later on, I will upload the full version as far as the video. Hey, what's going on, Vanessa? I'll upload the full video as far as on YouTube later on once it's edited and everything. But right now, that's what's happening, just in case you guys are wondering why I'm looking up. All right. So, yeah, a lot of things have been developing as far as in the world of professional wrestling and entertainment. So, well, let's start with the entertainment part. Vince McMahon. So, it's been said that Vince is not throwing in the towel just yet. The former WWE chairman is in the beginning stages of creating a new entertainment company, according to PWI Insider report that broke Tuesday afternoon, October 29th. Despite his ongoing legal issues, Mr. McMahon new venture is being described as an entertainment hub company and will reportedly focus on producing film and TV projects in the realms of fiction and nonfiction. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Vince, you never know what he's going to come up with. He's a very smart man.
Yeah.
Uh, he's been very successful. So I don't know much about entertainment. But I don't know what kind. Is it in a sport or just entertaining?
Well,
It's hard to say.
well, they
There's a lot
said.
of things in entertainment. There's a lot of.
Hmm. Well, they said fictional and non-fictional. It gives me a feel like I don't know if you remember the American Gladiators.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does something like it's sort of like the American Gladiators, and then at the end you have to wrestle in a ring just to give it a twist. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it like that. I, you
Yeah.
know, like you said with Vince, you never know.
No, you never know. He comes up with. Usually, they're good ideas too. You know. So I wish him luck.
Yeah, he still has his connection as far as in the entertainment world, as far as with movies and stuff like that,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
WWF was also dealing with WWF films, so they was definitely putting their footnote in the movie industry. So
That makes a difference.
yeah,
The connections and you know, and he's got the money.
yeah,
That's the best part.
which is true, which is true. Um,
Now he earned it though. He worked hard. He earned it. You know.
do you think that a lot anybody would want to associate with him, being that he's going through his legal issues and stuff like that? Do you think?
Uh, I don't think so. It wouldn't bother me.
Right.
You know. I don't think he did. People, first of all, always said, you become very wealthy, there's always somebody after you. They're either trying to sue you, trying to get some money, and so I don't know if I believe any of
Right. Right. Eh,
them.
Well,
It's impossible.
got you. How was Vince McMahon as far as the times that you dealt with him? Was he? They said he never slept.
Well, that's what they say. Pat Patterson was the booker at one time, and he told me, Pat told me himself, he said, we can't stay with him. You know, none of the guys could stay with him. The one on the road, there was always go, go, go. And and that's why he's successful. That's pretty like Donald Trump. He goes, and nobody can follow him.
Right. Right.
Energy. So, especially if you like your job. I'm sure Vince likes, with all his success, to be involved still,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe come up with something brand new. And it makes a lot of people talk
Right.
and wonder.
Gotcha. You've dealt well, as far as moving a little bit forward, there was a documentary that came out not too long ago, a couple of days ago. It was a documentary done on Bret Hitman Hart. It was
Oh,
called Bret Hart's Bitterness Documentary. They pretty much talking about how bitter Bret Hart has become, as far as with, and honestly, rightfully so. If you put yourself in Bret Hart's shoes, with deaths that happened, his career ending early, yeah, I definitely understand why he would have that bitterness and stuff like that. But I was just curious to find out your thoughts. In the beginning, they spoken about um, they spoke about how Bret Hart's childhood was very difficult growing up in a family with financial struggles. So he had a lot of brothers and sisters. How was your childhood like growing up?
well, we didn't have a big family. I only had one brother. Uh, we didn't struggle. We didn't have much. We didn't have a whole lot of money. We lived on a little bitty farm, enough to grow your food and animals, and we had milk, chicken. We had a small farm, but that's what sustained us, And I never went hungry. My mom used to sew. She had one of those sewing machine singer, and she had two sisters that were nuns, and they would send men's suit and all kinds of clothing. My mother would cut them all up and make us some suits. So they were very resourceful,
Right.
and we had a pretty nice house, but we didn't have electricity, so we had lamps, oil lamps, and lanterns, whatever they call them. But I didn't consider it a hard time. It might be because the house was warm. I had good parents. You win the lottery if you're born with good parents. But
Yeah,
you
100%.
don't pick them. You know, if you got lousy parents, but I don't think that was his case. I'm sure his parents were good, but they were working hard, and and back in those days, a lot of people in the 40s and 50s, if you were on a farm, and things weren't easy. They worked from sun up to sundown, and go to church on Sunday. Maybe we should bring back some of that.
Right.
you know,
Right. Right.
a lot of people never experienced that.
Right. 100%. 100%. Um so okay, so moving forward, Bret Hart Bret Hart like many sons was striving for his father's respect as far as growing up in the wrestling family. So Stu Hart, which was the patriarch of the Hart family, operated a wrestling promotion in Calgary called Stampede Wrestling. Are you familiar with that company, Stampede Wrestling?
Yeah, yeah, yes, I am. Yep.
Uh,
It was out west, and I think Stu wanted Terry. I was partners with Terry Garvin. He wanted us to come a couple of times because he called Larry Kazabuski, was the promoter in North. He wanted us to come, but we never did make it. We was always busy. We got involved with the promotion, and but I would have liked to seen him and wrestle there. And I heard a lot of story about about Stu. You know, there was a lot of stories. There were fun things. You know, the dungeon. Well,
yeah.
that was fun to hear.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
I
was at their house. As a matter of fact,
Yep.
I went to
Yep.
their house one time. When that was the month I was in WWF. We went out to Calgary, and we got invited and met the family. Very nice people. Yeah, that was the last time. I only went there one time, but I was leaving after I was leaving the territory. I was retiring.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And I never asked you, Ron. Were you're the first generation wrestler as far as in your family, or second? I
So,
never.
no, No, there's nobody wrestled in my family.
Nobody
No,
wrestled.
no. Well, my dad was became an invalid at 27. He kind of brought himself up. He rehabilitated himself and could do quite a bit more later on. He got a job. That's when we moved to the city. Things got better. He had what was it called? Spinal meningitis,
Mm,
and back then that was pretty deadly.
wow.
I was 2 years old when that happened.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Um, they spoke about how Bret Hart learned about professional shoot style wrestling from the basement part, as you mentioned, of his house, which was infamously called the dungeon. A
Yeah,
lot, yeah, a lot of wrestlers came out from the dungeon. Chris Benoit, well, obviously all the Harts. I'm trying to think of Mr. Perfect. I believe he came out. Kurt Hennig came out of the dungeon at one point, I believe. There was a lot of guys that came out from the dungeon. You know, that was well noted.
yeah.
Okay, so they spoke about Bret Hart's sister. She used to get bullied in school. One day, Bret Hart showed up by himself to fight the bullies. They thought because Bret Hart was by himself that they was going to have a one up over him. But Bret Hart ended up beating up both of the bullies that was bullying his sister. And that was the introduction to Bret Hart and the Dynamite. Well, that was the introduction to Bret Hart receiving his respect from his father. So, and you said you grew up with you was the older brother or younger brother?
I was the oldest. I only had one brother. Actually, what would I would have had a sister, but she died of birth. It was a miscarriage or something like that. So
Sorry to
yeah,
hear.
my brother's a year younger, but he was not interested in wrestling. He was not the type.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Well, I don't blame him. He became a mailman.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, the introduction to Bret Hart and the Dynamite Kid. Um, Kid was brought into Stu Hart's promotion, Stampede Wrestling. Then Bret
Yeah.
Hart and the Dynamite Kid were matched up, and they had pretty good matches. Bret Hart mentioned how the Dynamite Kid made him step up his wrestling game, actually become a better wrestler. Once he started wrestling on the Dynamite Kid, he started upping up the ante. Who would you say that you wrestled before in your past when you first started? Who made you better as far as a professional wrestler back in your time?
Oh, there was quite a few, quite a few. When I started, I was the only kid in the dressing room most of the time. There might have been another young guy my age or a year or two older. Uh, so I started. I was 17. I told everybody I was 19. So I got away with it. But yeah, I learned I wrestled Bull Curry, Bull Montana. These guys they look like killers. You know, big old cauliflower ears. And they were on their way out. They were probably near the end of their careers. But I wrestled guys like that, and they kept me in the ring for like 45 minutes, almost an hour, and they'd get a hold on me after I was out of breath and can't breathe, and and then they just keep taking advantage of you. Give you elbows upside on the side of the head on both sides, trying to get cauliflower ears because all the wrestlers back cauliflower, the big old knob, and it was always on the driver's side because when they pull up at the light, they like to see the people in the car say, "Oh, there's a wrestler driving in the car." That's
Wow.
what they said anyway. But and I learned from Pancho. Pancho Villa was probably the one that really gave me some of the best information. Roberto Pico, he wrestles
Right.
Pancho Villa, you know, and I'll never forgot. I wrestled him one time, and
Mhm.
in Opelousas, Louisiana. Never forgot that. The place was packed. It was a skating ring. It was pretty good size. There might have been 600, 700 people in there, and for the days that That was a good crowd.
Right.
And of course, I had blonde hair. And in 1966 or 64, whatever it was, that no, Louisiana, that would have been in 60, 63. Uh, if you had blonde hair, you were automatically a gay guy. You know.
Really, I
Oh
remember
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. They'd holler at you, you queer, you fag, blah blah blah. You know, and I got heat. And I wanted to wrestle as a heel, which I was. The whole beginning of my career, all the way till probably the middle of it, I was always a bad guy because I liked it. You know, and Pancho was a bad guy too. He was a big heel, and he was a big guy. He was a lot bigger than I was, and he was an ex-boxer. And this guy had he he had so much experience. He said to me, he whispered to me, he says, "I'm gonna turn you baby face." I said, "No way in the hell." Well, by the time people were not booing anymore, they felt sorry for me. Oh, I just did what he told me, and half of it I can't remember what I did.
Okay.
I was, you know, plus I was intimidated. You know, you wrestle with a guy like that, and he didn't hurt me. I mean, he took my hands and made holes in the ring. He would put himself into a headlock. He did it himself. I was like a robot. But I never forgot when the match was over, man. I was a babyface. I didn't think it was possible.
Oh wow.
Roberto Pico.
I looked him up when the last time we spoke. I looked him up and stuff like that. Yeah, very interesting individual.
And Laverne was his wife.
And who?
And Laverne had a cauliflower year.
Okay.
The last time I couldn't remember her name. It was Anne Laverne.
Anne Laverne.
She had a big old cauliflower ear. She was a tough woman. Oh yeah.
She was also a wrestler.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She was a big name back then.
Did she have any matches with Moolah, the fabulous Moolah?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. They had those women back then. They had some great matches. Yeah, they threw punches like guys. You know, not so much like women. Not that women are bad. It's just
it was different back then.
they look like guys. The way they maneuvered, and they were pretty good sized ladies. You know, but they knew how to wrestle, and that was all you needed back then.
Oh man. Um, okay, so going back to the Bret Hart and Dynamite Kid, they spoke about the matches between Bret and Dynamite Kid. It was very brutal. One time, Dynamite kicked Bret Hart in the head while he was already bleeding, and which led to a huge gash on his head. Bret Hart and Dynamite Kid had a bit of a grudge against each other after their match, but at the end, it turned into respect. Bret Hart Bret Hart ended up saying that the Dynamite Kid was the original best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Do you have any stories about the Dynamite Kid? Any run-ins with the Dynamite Kid? Hmm?
I don't think I ever talked to him. I don't know. I never was in the same dressing room. I don't know if they were there when I was there.
Hmm.
I know Brett was, but
Bret was. Dynamite wasn't. No, they wasn't.
because I didn't stay there that long anyway. I was there 2 years and I was gone.
Hmm. Hmm.
I never was around those guys, and because I would remember if I was in the dressing room. You know, usually and a lot of guys didn't talk much.
Right.
You know.
Okay. Okay. Bret Hart was Bret Hart's first introduction to the WWF was in Madison Square Garden, where he was a replacement for the Dynamite Kid after Dynamite Kid suffered an injury. This was the same arena where his father made a name for himself. They said Vince McMahon Jr. said that did not did Bret Hart was not big enough name to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. They took him off the card and paid him $500. This motivated Bret Hart to become better than what he was to prove to Vince McMahon. Now I'm concentrating on the pay now. I mean, I know he was looking to make a name for himself, like the father did as far as Madison Square Garden. But $500 back then, not for nothing. That was pretty good money, right? As far as you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Compared to today, yeah, yeah, exactly. I remember when I got my first $90 payoff. You know, my God, people were making $50 a week in the '60s. You know, and I'm talking about average working work. No, doctors, lawyers, and everything. They made more money, but that was about their salary, 50, $60 a week. You know, and I made $90 in one night. Times, a lot of nights it was 40, $50. But
Mhm.
take consideration, the gas in those days was 19, 20 cents a gallon. So, and you go into a restaurant and have a big old plate of food for $1, and you left 10 cents tip. That was a big tip in those days. People were happy.
You said 10 cents?
So, yeah, 10, 15 cents. That was a tip, I mean, yeah, $1 plate. That's 10, 15%. You know,
Okay.
people were happy. The waitress never complained, you know.
Got you. Got you.
But
Got you.
what I'm telling you is, you show my age, huh? I'm going way back in 62, 63. Yeah.
Hey,
Uh,
listen, I won't say nothing.
but I mean, even my son, so, oh, Dad, you only made that? Yeah. Back then that was good money.
Right, right,
But
right.
somebody born today or 30 years after that, later,
Get it.
yeah, we'll never see that again. Not the way things are going up.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Um, then they mentioned how Bret Hart ends up in the WWF as a package deal done by Stu Hart and Vince when Vince McMahon purchased Stampede Wrestling from Stu Hart. Um, the deal was that Stu Hart was to Vince McMahon was to accept the Hart Foundation, which consists of Bret Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and the British Bulldog, which consists of Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid, to be used as into Vince McMahon's promotion, the WWF at that time. So once Vince
Uh,
McMahon purchased Stampede, he also purchased those four individuals as well. Now, I want to ask you, was Vince known to do that as far as in the territories? Did he purchase, as he purchased the territories, did he purchase like do you know if he worked out any deals similar to that one?
that's that's the first I heard of. But
Right.
no, well, maybe that was the deal. Maybe Stu wanted his boys to keep working,
Right.
because WWF was, doing well. They were growing. Maybe that was why the deal was like that. You take my territory, and those guys have to be included. Well, that would make sense to me.
I know they
So that
mentioned
way,
hmm? I know they mentioned I forgot which one where it was that I heard this before, but I know Vince, he definitely I don't want to use the word raided, but I mean that's the word that was used. The AWA territory. That's when Mean Gene Oakland, all these guys that was the Vern Gagne's territory, I believe. That's what it was, the AWA, I believe.
but I give him credit. He he asked him to he asked to buy him. They all told him to go f himself. You know. Yeah, he he was fair about it. He said, "Well, I'll take it then." I don't know if some of them took it, or accepted it, but yeah, they laughed at him. They thought he was just a nut, Well, they were used to deal with his dad. His dad
Right.
was the same mentality as the rest of them, because you know, they didn't have no vision about what was going to be 20 years from now. You know, look at the technology. It's amazing how some people can see that. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess Vince just, you know, in a way, I can't blame him. I mean, I want to take over wrestling, or any job. I don't see anything wrong with it. It really didn't belong to them. It was just for respect. See, the territories were, they call them territories. So if you were, like, say, North Carolina, well, North Carolina didn't go into Georgia. because that was another territory. They respected themselves, so they didn't, you know, go against the. They had agreed to it, I guess. That's why it was called NWA. They all belonged to the NWA, the same organization. That
Right.
way, they had access to a lot of talent because if North Carolina needed a couple of good wrestlers just for a week or two or occasion, whatever, they could call and they would send them a couple of the boys. And they just worked with each other. But Vince was totally outside of that. He was in New York, you know,
Mhm.
and well, when you got the money and the talent, he had money, and I guess he just decided, well, he was turning it into entertainment.
Right.
Basically exposed the business. That's what made the promoters mad. They didn't want to. They didn't want to go that way. You know, they thought
Gotcha.
it was going to fail. They thought it was going to fail, and it was total opposite.
He gambled. Vince McMahon definitely gambled.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Also, they talk about when the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs put on great matches. I remember those in the WWF. Bret Hart wanted more as far as displaying his skills outside the tag team realm. He wanted more one-on-one matches. He received his first shot as Bret Hart and the Dynamite Kid had a chance to wrestle, and they put on a wrestling clinic. Um, they want because yeah, Dynamite Kid to me, I don't know. Well, I'm sure you've seen Dynamite Kid work, even though you wasn't around him. But to me, Dynamite Kid, he reminded me of a Chris Benoit. Like him and Chris Benoit had similar styles. I don't know why, but I've looked at him as similar. Yeah.
Well,
Uh.
that would make sense. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
guys, a lot of guys. I've ran into guys like that. They look like not look, but they work like another guy. You know, in the territory.
Right. Right.
They
Right.
work the way they handle themselves, the way they work. You know.
Yep. Um. When these matches happen, they end up winning everybody in that arena except Vince McMahon. Vince was looking for somebody who fits the mold of the WWF, more of a superhero bodybuilder stature. Bret Hart did not fit that mold, but Vince McMahon put him in the ring with somebody that did. This name may sound familiar. He put him in the ring by a name called the Canadian bodybuilder Tom McGee. I don't know if you ever heard of Tom McGee. Does that ring a bell?
I heard of. I never met him.
Okay,
Yeah, I heard the name before, but I never met him.
you never met him. Okay. Bret Hart specifically told him, just do what I say. Don't ask any questions. When we have our match, and I guarantee you, you'll be hired. Bret Hart ended up making him look so good that Tom McGee was hired and Bret Hart was pushed to the back. That's that must have been an awful feeling. Like you do your job so well that you make the guy look like $1 million that you don't even get recognized, and you make the other guy look so good that he's getting the push and you're getting like like whatever. Do you think that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's what happened to the Ultimate Warrior? Like because I heard Rude worked well with him, Hercules worked well with him. It took certain guys that worked well with him, and he started looking like $1 million until he got in the ring with other individuals, and he was like, "What the hell?" Then he got exposed.
Yeah. And the Ultimate Warrior didn't give a shit about the other guy because man, you know, he was a dangerous man in the ring. You know, he didn't care about anything.
Right.
I watched him work. I never worked with him. I would have because I think he wouldn't have been too hard to handle. The thing you do with a guy like that, he was so clumsy. Tripped, he ran into the ropes, and he was always going 100 miles an hour. And you just blow him up. And once he's out of steam, you know, you can trip him and roll him and get behind him and ride him. You know, yeah, you could
You
do
would have.
that even if he's a big guy. You know, he didn't know anything about wrestling.
I know. I
You know,
know.
I guarantee if you went to a college wrestling, uh, most of them would have beat him.
Right. Yeah.
Most
Hundred
of them.
percent.
See, it's
Um.
funny how people get over. They look like monsters, and some of them aren't. He was pretty helpless. He just crisscrossed and ran all over the place, and his matches didn't last long. You know, to keep the guy in the ring for about 30, 40 minutes, yeah, huffing and puffing, a little bit different.
Oh man. Um. Bret Hart made. Watch this. Bret Hart made McGee look so good that Vince McMahon thought that he was going to be the next Hulk Hogan.
I heard that. I heard that back then. There was some rumors, you know, that I guess maybe he tried to convince himself that he was going to be Hogan, but it wouldn't have lasted very long because you know I heard he was not good at doing business with McMahon.
Right. 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 Right.
He didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. Just I mean the business. You didn't have any respect, for the business. Didn't have any respect for anybody. I could tell. I was around him a little bit. I never was friends with him. I didn't pay much attention to it, but I could hear guys talking. There was some guys that didn't like him.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't. There was no fights, but I know that he was not liked a lot.
Mm.
Like Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, man, he's very well liked. You know,
Well,
you could.
well, let me ask you. Here's another thing too. I've actually started watching matches from Japan with Hulk Hogan. Listen, I'm shocked. Hulk Hogan had to WWF limited Hulk Hogan to the moves that he could actually do. In Japan, oh my God, New Japan, he had moves after I've seen him going top on the top rope, and I'm like, that's Hulk Hogan? Like what the?
Yeah.
So I asked you this, and I know you're gonna chuckle with this answer. How would the Ultimate Warrior would have done in New Japan?
Oh, somebody would have stretched his ass. Somebody, yeah, they would have found one in Japan that could handle him. I think, make him look bad. I think it wouldn't have been that hard.
Right, right,
I mean, you come into a new business, you should be humble. You know, you should be humble because
right.
you don't have a background. Now, if he would have had a background, just like an Olympian guy, that he won the gold medal, and like what's his name, the other guy, what was his name? The
With
guy
Kurt
that was
Angle.
working, Kurt Angle. Yeah, you got a guy like that, a little bit different. But still, I guarantee he has a lot of respect. He came in, you know, I could tell he was a respectful guy.
Yeah,
And Kurt Angle knew how to wrestle.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You found most of the guys who really knew who had a shoot style background. They was very respectful, like you said. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Even though you got arms the size of tree trunks, doesn't mean that you can use them. It might be used against you.
Oh man.
I've seen some good fights in the dressing room, 2, 3 different times. Yeah. A
Oh yeah.
smaller guy whipping the hell out of a guy, two big guys fighting. I've seen that too. You
Well,
got different.
can you name a time that
What?
uh, did you can you I don't know if you could talk about it, but can you name a time that a smaller guy or a guy looked like he wasn't supposed to win a fight, a shoot style fight, and he ended up winning in the locker room? Like,
Uh, it didn't. Usually those shoots never happen in the ring. It started there, but they mad and it wind up, in a dressing room. But I remember another time. I can't remember his name. He was a real big guy, about 300 pounds. Uh, I'm bad on names, but they came into the dressing room and all of a sudden, man, it exploded. You know, I mean, boom, boom into the lockers. Man, the metal. Everybody. Then a lot of guys trying to stop it. I can't remember I was shocked. You know, I was shocked because I thought the big guy was going to hurt him, but he ate him up.
Right, right.
Well, you get somebody that got a heart, got a lot of heart, and they like to fight and know how to fight.
Right.
That's hard to beat.
Oh man. Wait, as wait, hold on. Let me. Oh wow. Tony, Ron, I got Tony. I'm talking to Ron Garvin right now. We're live.
Playing with my phone, and how did I do that?
You press the video part.
I did.
Yeah, yeah. You called me through video, but this is not Skype.
That is not the right. Okay.
That's not Skype.
Let me go back and see what else I can do.
Well, listen, say hi to Ron Garvin. I got Ron Garvin live right now.
Okay. Let me yeah, I got the new phone. I'm testing it.
Okay, got you.
All right. Let me go back. Say hang up on me so I can hang up.
All right.
Here we go.
All right. That was Tony Atlas, everybody. Oh man.
Tony Atlas? Oh
yeah. He's learning how to use the Skype that we're on so that way we could do interviews. Because I was telling him when it comes down to doing interviews, instead of traveling and leaving your house, you could actually do these things. They'll be a whole lot easier. Instead of, the only reason you guys should actually leave is to do autographs or meet or greet or whatever the case is. But when it comes down to, you could use these devices and then actually do the interviews from the comfort of your own home. So yeah. Hey, see, that's the treat. You never know what could happen when we're on live. We had Tony Atlas drop in just now, so you never know.
Nice guy. Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah. So going back to Bret Hart. So Bret Hart was on the road thinking that he was the first in the Hart family to make it that far in the wrestling business, but yet wasn't good enough. So that must have been a real bad feeling as far as you being the first as far as the Hart family, coming from a large family like he did, doing the best that you can. And he was actually a real good technical wrestler as far as in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at the end, Vince was in love with the bodybuilders, the monster looking guys, yeah.
Yeah. Well, even in the old days, there was some promoters that they wanted some light guys, like, 200, 220, 240 pounds. They didn't like 300 pounders, 290s, because their way of thinking was that there was not as much action. And there was a lot of big guys that were kind of slow. I don't know if they were lazy, they just worked slow. Not a whole lot of action. Get a hole and take the guy down and hold on to the hole. There was quite a few guys like that.
In my personal opinion, Bret seemed like he was in the battle as far as for search of respect. First, it started off in the beginning as far as with his own father. Then he earned his respect with his dad as far as with fighting those bullies, and then his introduction to wrestling and dealing in the dungeon, the infamous dungeon. Now it's starting all over again as far as searching respect for Vince McMahon. Have you ever went through those situations that you wrestled for promotion and you felt like you wasn't being used the right way, or you wasn't your talent wasn't being displayed to the ultimate ability like it should have, and that you was trying to gain respect of that promoter? Have you ever been in that position?
Oh yeah, I've walked out many times. Yeah, I walked out. Well, I walked out after I won the world title. Because I got shafted. And everything came from the booker. Uh, Probably jealousy, envy, whatever. They're afraid that you're going to take their spot, I guess. I don't know. I didn't want to take nobody's spot. I was always happy in my spot, my skin. I didn't want to beat somebody else. Yeah, I won when I won the world title. Uh, I lost it. I never defended it. They didn't want to book it. I never defended that title. And I was ready to defend it every week. They didn't. You know why? Because
why?
strong.
There you go.
And I waited a month and a half. I had it almost 2 months, a month and 3 weeks for the rematch,
Mhm.
and I lost. I lost the belt, and for all the years I was in the business, you always had 2 or 3 rematch, 2 to 3 rematch in different cities. Try to get it back, you know, and then go on about something else. If you don't succeed, you go on. That never happened. Never had another match for the title.
Wow.
So I'm not bitter because I never did give a crap about any of people's ego or whatever they want to do. I walked out of there, and the way I did it is that was after I had won the belt. Is Dusty Rhodes wanted to turn me heel, so which is fine. I didn't mind, but he was going to give me Perez as a partner, and the other guy I can't what's his name. Uh, he was a manager. What was his name?
Who?
Anyway, he was going to manage me. We were going to be a tag team, me and Perez, and then anyway,
Not Mr.
the deal
Fuji.
is no. White guy, big, pretty good, tall
Freddie
guy.
Blassie.
No, he managed a lot of guys. I think he managed Mr. Perfect or something. I
Um,
don't know. I can't remember. If I hear his name, I know.
yeah, I'm trying to think.
Uh, anyway, the deal was he offered me $500 to knock Dusty Rhodes out in the ring. Go in the ring, they interfere in the ring, knock him out. You know, that was in not Buffalo, but what was the other time? Baltimore, Maryland. That was over. I had beaten Jake the Snake. I had beaten Mister what was a $1 billion man. I was over in that town.
Mhm.
Boy, that's it. Anyway. So I said I'll do it. I did. I went to the ring and knocked him. And I tapped him on his shoulder while he was turned around, and boom, I knocked him out. He laid there and flopping, and I went back to the cigar room and money. What he was going to do, he was going to book us. He was going to him against me and Perez and what's that guy's name? And we were going to go around to different cities. They played the tape. You know, that was his revenge. He was going to do a promo on TV about Ronnie Garvin or kick your ass, I guess, stuff like that. Well, we were going to do the TV on Saturday, and that was going to happen. Where I was going to turn. I already had turned on Dusty, so I was going to turn on somebody else. And down in Georgia, where we did the TV. Well, I got on the airplane. We had private planes. Crockett had bought 2 airplanes. So I'm into the airport. I walked all the way to the back of the airplane. I shook hands with all the guys that I knew.
Mhm.
And I said, see y'all later. Where you going? I'm going home. I walked out the plane. Even the pilots didn't believe it. They said, hey, what are we up? He said, don't mess around. We got to go. We got to go. I said, I'm not going. You guys are going on your own. I got off the plane and went home.
Oh
And then
wow.
Dusty Rhodes TV and the TV program, and he says, I beat him up in a bar. Yeah, that was his revenge. He told the people that he had beat me up in the bar. I went home. I was the one laughing. You know, I didn't care. Yeah, they think because I got screwed early on in the business, so didn't bother me. When I was tired of one place, I just left. I did many places. No, never told them. I said I'm out of here. Goodbye.
You had options, and you never let the business hold anything over you. That
No,
was that's the
no.
beautiful thing. Yep.
Didn't, you know.
Yep.
I busted my butt in the ring, and I figured, well, if they don't want to pay me right, you know where to go.
Gotcha. 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 Um, in the early '90s, the world found out what Bret Hart knew all along, that he was the best damn wrestler on God's green earth. Bret Hart at that time, He wrestled 5-star matches upon 5-star matches with some of the greatest singles competitors that the world professional wrestling had to offer, which eventually led him to win the IC Championship, which was the Intercontinental Championship, then ultimately the World's Heavyweight Championship, as far as the WWF Heavyweight Championship. So
Yeah.
when you had your moments as far as WWF, was there any talks as far as you possibly winning the Intercontinental title of that nature? Any talks of that, or
No, no.
no?
I want to, but I've had people tell me, "Oh, you want this belt, this belt, this belt." Belt never excited me. You know, it was the money. You know, what I come up with at the end of the year. How much money was it worth me putting my body out there? You know, having a good time, taking my 2 weeks off a year. Promote. So you're on top, man, and you're gonna leave it. Yes, I'm leaving. I'm going hunting. That's my religion. You know, and it was. I never missed it. You know, so I never. And I treated the promoters for, you know, but there was one in Tennessee, not Memphis, but Nashville. You know, what a Goulas. What a piece of crap that was. That man was just, really. And there was a few like that, but there was more that were honest. There was one in Oregon. I can't remember his name. Oh, he was so honest. If he didn't sleep, if he owed you a nickel. Jim Crockett,
Jim
Jim
Crockett.
Crockett promoted senior. Oh my God, he treated me like I was his son sometimes. One time I had a match and he embarrassed me. He was in the dressing room. He came in the dressing room and he sat down. And there's a lot of old timers around back then. He says, "Man, I want you guys to watch. This is a wrestling match. This is what I call wrestling." And he went on, and I'm going, "Oh my God, these
Hey,
guys are going. I'm going to have heat, you know." But you know, and I enjoyed wrestling. I went in the ring. I enjoyed it, and the first thing I told some guys, I says, the problem if you don't have a good match is because people don't believe that you're in a fight.
right, right.
They believe that you're douchebags rolling around in there pretending to be hurt, and you missed your punch by 6 inches, and the guy is out of the ring. You know, I mean, it's embarrassing. You know, I watched the matches in the old days. Some of them were embarrassing. You know, today I don't watch it. It's,
I'm gonna
it's
give
fun
you
to
a lot.
go out there.
This is
Fun to go out there.
Yep. This is where I give you credit. When it came down to when I used to watch you fight, you the punches that you threw was realistic. Everything that you did, it looked realistic. It looked like something that would be done if you was a real fighter out in these streets. Everything that you done, you could do out in these streets. Like um, even down to when you started firing up, you started getting angry. It had me laugh because I was like, I see myself getting pissed off similar the same way too. And just
Yeah.
it just
Well,
will take a good hit.
I,
That's what you used to do. Just like, well,
I
that's why you and Greg the Hammer meshed so well. You took one good shot to get two good in, or you took two good shots to get one good in. And yeah,
oh
that
yeah.
was yep.
Well, plus it helps to have a great guy to work with. You know, and I had good guys to work with. I mean the best. Some I consider the best. You know, Greg, and there was so many of them. There's a lot of talent in NWA. There was a lot of talent, and when I got to New York, that was a blessing. When I saw Greg, I said, "Man, this is the guy I want to fight." You know,
Oh man.
because if people sit out in the crowd in the audience and they don't believe that it's a fight, you get big believers out of it.
Right.
Especially when they're sitting close to you. I used to hit the guys. I touched them. Believe me. A lot of guys never complain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's like when I chopped. I chopped. But I would never give anybody what I wouldn't take.
Got you.
I mean,
Got you.
yeah, you know, if
Um,
you're going to complain about the match, you'll complain to somebody else. That's the way I looked at it.
yep. It's like you in the wrong business. We in the hurt business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I can see, if you break the guy's leg or his arm or something, or Must stole his teeth out of his mouth. But there's no way to do that. And the more wrestling you do, the better it is anyway. They can't see through that.
Correct. Correct. Um, Ultimately, Bret Hart won something that he's been searching for quite some time, the respect of WWF promoter Vince McMahon. So after putting on those 5-star matches upon 5-star matches, Vince actually now started looking at him. Um, I actually, I actually think this was also during the time that that whole steroid situation that Vince started had no choice. I'm not going to say started. I felt like he had no choice but to move away from the bodybuilders and start looking more at the realistic looking guys. You know, just until the heat was off, type of thing. He started looking into the Bret Harts, Shawn Michaels, the all of those type of guys. Um, fast forwarding, fast forwarding to the Attitude Era, where Bret Hart, Bret Hart, seeing the traditional values that the WWF used to have was slowly withering away to the new Attitude Era that was being led by Shawn Michaels. I never asked you, do you have any Shawn Michaels story?
No, no, not really. Uh, he was around. He was a tag team with. He had a partner.
Marty Jannetty, the Rockers. Yep.
Yeah, the Rockers. Yeah, yeah. No, I just he was around, and we never did anything together. You know, seemed to be a nice guy. He was a good worker. I can't remember his partner's name,
Yeah,
but
Marty Jannetty.
partner Genetti. Yeah, yeah. He was a wild one.
You
Yeah,
have any stories on him?
I heard a lot of stories.
Yeah. Hey, Marty doesn't shy away from those stories. He's told a lot. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think they might have flew with me. Him and Marty Jannetty. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I know I've known him. I mean, but I never was around a lot, so I don't have a you know. They're younger than me quite a bit. So they had all the girls anyway.
Oh man, that's it.
Yeah.
Um, Bret Hart's noticed that that the good guys at that time during the Attitude Era, Bret Hart noticed that the good guys became the bad guys, and the bad guys ultimately became the good guys, and that they was pushing a lot of raunchiness, sex, and they was pushing the kids as far as the younger generation, the younger audience. They was pushing them away, bringing in more of the 18-year-old demographic to the 30-year-old demographic, which ultimately made it unsuitable for the kids to watch. What were your thoughts? I mean, at that time during this was 90, 96, 97.
Oh, see, I left in '90,
You left in
so
90.
I wasn't around for
Okay.
1990 November. So from 91, 92, 93, I was gone.
Did did you continue watching the product?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, I was busy too. I went to Puerto Rico for a while. Uh, did all kinds of. You know, I
Right.
stayed busy. And that was flying cargo too. So in the '90s, yeah, '91, I think that's when I got the job flying freight,
Mm-hmm.
flying cargo, and wrestling
Oh,
was a long, long ways away from me. And started to have all kinds of guys that I didn't know. And if you don't know the boys, it's not really interesting.
right. Right. I got you. I got you. Um, Now this starts the rivalry between Bret Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels. These two men did not like each other. Bret became frustrated with Vince McMahon's new vision of the Attitude Era, but Shawn Michaels embraced it. So it was pretty much pushing out the old, entering the new. Did you ever have a situation during your times in wrestling that um, you wasn't too keen about the way a promoter was doing business or the way he was pushing his promotion that you was like, I'm gonna go somewhere else? Or again, maybe you didn't like, you had issues, you had heat with a certain wrestler. Did you ever have bump heads with a certain wrestler,
Uh,
promoter?
not really. Well, the way I handled life was how much money am I, and
Uh-huh.
if I was satisfied with what I was making,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to argue. You don't want to pay me, you know, I bust my butt, and if you don't see it, then it didn't bother me. I went somewhere else. Well, there was 32 different promotions, and a lot of the boys never realized, hell, man, we're so lucky because if you get fired or you quit one place, you can start somewhere else the next day. Because I had promoters over the years to call me. When you're done over there, we'd like to have you over here, Minnesota, places like that. And I didn't want to go north, so that was. But yeah, I could have wrestled 100 years, always had a job, and the
Um,
money was good. I stayed, but the money was not good. I didn't stay.
right, right, right.
It was a hell of a luxury to have a place where you got a job for your whole career. And some guys stayed in one territory for 20 years. You know, never left. I like to change my scenery, and I figured after about 2, 3 years, eh, it's time to move on anyway. And
Right.
I was getting offers. You know, some kept their word, some didn't.
Something.
Oh man, I'll do this, I'll do that. And, you get there, and none of that is done. I've had one time. I left the next day. I got there one day, went to the office. I left the next day. They
Wow.
just saw me. Didn't last one day.
Oh boy.
Went to the office, introduced myself, and now they give me my booking for the week. Because back then, they give you a booking for the whole week. You
Right.
know, and I forgot exactly what happened, but I didn't even show up. I turned around and went somewhere else.
Hmm. It happens.
Yeah. If you're not independent, they take advantage of you.
Correct.
That's the thing they told me in the business. There was poor guys back in them days that had families. They were probably 30, 40 years old and didn't have a whole lot of money, and they had a family, kids, and everything. And the promoters screw them because they knew they couldn't really afford to leave. They
Mhm.
had to take it. You know, and the worst thing you can be in the world is when you're broke. People take advantage of that. Use you as a slave.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Once they have you by the balls, then that's when they exploit you.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Oh man. Oh, but before we continue, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of people that's live with us before I shut down the live. Yes, I'm gonna be shutting down the live. For you to get this whole video, you just have to wait until it's uploaded. Then you'll be able to see myself and Rugged Ronnie Garvin. But this was just a little insight that we're doing right now. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Thomas Seth. Am I saying it right? He said, "Hey, what's up, bro?" Uh, Lucas Barbosa. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Lucas? Long time, Lucas. Long time. Hope all is well. Shout out to Willow. They asking Trump or Kamala. uh, let's see. The fifth Helen Drive. Hello, congratulations. Me and my sister gave birth. Now I'm a dad. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. uh, Thomas Asef, if you don't mind me asking, what is your hobby? Well, I love working out when I get a chance to. I ride the bike. What's your well? Your hobby is actually is it? Well, I think they was asking you this. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Who cares about me? It's not about me. They asking you this, Ron. Um, what's your personal hobby as far as your favorite hobby? One of the fans was
Well,
asking.
I, I go to the gym 3 times a week.
Mhm,
I like fishing. I
mhm.
like hunting. I'm an outdoor person. And summertime, I like to be at the lake in a pontoon boat and do some fishing and just sit out there and get some rays. You know, just relax. As I used to be. I'm no spring chicken, but
Uh,
I stay active. I stay active. My wife is active, and
good,
plus she pushes me,
good.
takes good care of me. So I have the best, man.
You look like $1 million.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So,
I think attitude is everything.
yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. Remember you was telling me that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
And if you're down in the dumps, you won't come back out. Really, some people are down and and I think it makes you sick. I think it's not. I don't think it's healthy,
Right, right. Yeah.
especially when you're negative about everything, and you see people like that. It's sad, you know. Be positive, man. It's you know energizes you.
100%. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
Oh man. Give me 1 second, Ron. I'm gonna shut down this live. Hey folks, thank you for joining us live. I'm gonna shut this down, but I'm gonna continue the conversation with Rugged Ronnie Garvin. Yes, this has been stories from the road to the ring with none other than Rugged Ronnie Garvin. We're gonna continue it. Expect the full interview to be loaded up right here on Don Devine on YouTube. So make sure you guys subscribe to Don Devine on YouTube so you get notified once we upload videos on a weekly basis. We're always putting up shorts and full interviews. So definitely thank you for watching. Till next time. Yeah. Okay. So now, um, as far as Vince McMahon, they said Vince McMahon had made a 20-year contract now with Bret Hart. It was for a couple of millions of dollars. This was a good, pretty penny. He made a 20-year contract with Vince. So I'm assuming with this 20-year contract, this worked kind of well over the times that he was even performing in the ring. This would probably be more, he would be working more as an agent or working in the back, bringing in the new generation, helping them out as far as with the 20-year contract. As Bret Hart, which he was trying to back out. So talking about Vince McMahon was trying to back out of their 20-year contract because he wanted to go with the younger generation. So he wanted to go with the younger generation, which was being led by Shawn Michaels. Okay, so pretty much Shawn Michaels was his guy, his go-to guy, as far as with the visions and the plan, as far as for the WWF Attitude Era. So Shawn Michaels was that guy. Bret Hart was about to take the back seat, which led to Bret Hart signing a contract with the rival company, WCW. So Vince McMahon came up with a plan to have Bret Hart have one last match against his rivalry, Shawn Michaels, which Bret Hart was supposed to drop the title to Shawn. Bret Hart was open to that idea, but the only problem was that Shawn Michaels said he appreciated that he was willing to drop the title to him, but he would never be willing to drop the title for Bret, to do the same thing for Bret. So that pissed off Bret Hart. So Bret Hart was ready to do business and said, hey, he's happy. He was willing to drop the title to pretty much lose to Shawn Michaels. But Shawn Michaels said, I appreciate it, but I would not be willing to do the same for you. Now, how would you feel if you're actually showing that respect to your fellow wrestler, saying you're the champion and you saying, okay, yeah, I'm leaving the company. I'm willing to do what Vince McMahon calls the time honored tradition, where he puts you against certain individuals to lose, to bring down your stock, your name value before you go to any other company. And that way it puts you in a position that you're not in a position to ask for a certain amount of money because he brought down your value before he left the company. So how would you feel that you're willing to do the job, and you go to a particular worker and you say, hey, listen, yeah, I'm willing to work with you. I would love to lose the title. I have no issue. It's just a work. And he says, I appreciate that, Ron, but guess what? I'm glad that you're willing to drop the title to me, but I'm not willing to do the same for you. What would you do in those circumstances if you was Bret?
It's hard to say. I've never been in a situation, but you know, I I never took it too damn serious. You know,
Mhm.
wrestling because the simple reason it's not all real. I mean, the outcome is, you know, uh, that's why promoters never wanted to. When McMahon started doing that, that it was entertainment and it was, you know, it's not fake because when you get body slam, but it's arranged. A little bit like baseball would use. got arranged one time. Way back in the 30s or whatever. You can fix anything, and I don't know. I never. That's why I never took. For me, a belt was a belt. Give me the money.
Yeah.
Give me the money. that's it. That's the only reason I was in a wrestling. You know, there's absolutely no other reason, and it kept me in shape. You know, uh, just that was important. I go to the gym, work out, then you work out in the ring at night again, and then you start over the next day. It's a good way to stay healthy and fit. Plus, you're making money. But money ain't everything. If I like a place, you know, I stayed. I went to Florida. I remember at the beginning of my career, I went to Florida. We only went to Florida in the wintertime. We made money. Hell, they gave us belts. Me and Terry won 2, 3 belts. I remember. We're a tag team. We didn't want it because we weren't there for the winter. We were there for like 3 weeks, a month, you know, and we didn't care. But we had some great matches, and they dropped the belt. Of course, we dropped them back to them, when we got ready to leave. But we hadn't went there to win titles. I wanted to win money,
Right.
and but we're all different, and everybody's, you know, people get upset over something that's important to them. I can see that. I can see that. But those things wouldn't be important to me. Like I won the world title. Well, to me, it's an accomplishment. But I don't feel like I'm the greatest wrestler on the damn planet, or you know, I made a living. I made a good living, and I'm happy with my life. Like I say, Brett's a good guy. I used to watch his matches. He's a good worker. But sometimes, you're dealing with people who are not honest, or they promise you something and they don't do it. I would have been gone. If somebody promised me something, I would have been like, what is it? That woman that made people disappear. Like
Genie. Was it?
bewitched, bewitched.
Bewitched. The
Yeah,
genie.
you're gone.
Yep. Oh man. Um, so now moving on to, well, Bret Hart refused any scenario which would lead to him losing to Shawn Michaels because Bret felt disrespected on what Shawn Michaels told him. Vince McMahon, number one fear was that since Bret Hart was under contract with WCW, he did not want Bret Hart to leave the WWF with the World's Heavyweight Championship belt to come on air to WCW TV with their belt that would cause further disgrace to the WWF as a whole. What was your thoughts about that?
Well, I don't know what kind of arrangement, but it's his territory.
Right.
And the belt belonged to the territory. So I don't know. I don't know the particulars and all that, but maybe there's more to it. We don't know. I don't know. But I would have dropped it. I wouldn't have left the territory because it's meaningless. To me, it was. You know, really. I mean, I've had people say, "Oh, it's." I've got all the respect in the world. It's a title, but what's a title? Really,
The,
it's an
Reese,
object. You know the first thing I did when I won the belt?
what did you do?
I went and got it appraised. It appraised for 50,000. Yeah, I went to a shop and that's how much gold was in that belt. Yeah, $50,000. I could have kept it.
Wow.
Yeah, I could have kept it. I had my possession for a month and a half,
Wow.
but I hated it. I had to hide that thing. Imagine you're in a motel. What do you do with a belt? Between the
Gotcha.
Put it between the mattresses. Oh, yeah, I had to hide that thing. I asked if they had the safe, so I could put it in the safe. And actually, it was an aggravating thing to me because I was a babysitter for something worth $50,000. And in '87, $50,000 was more money than today. It would be today. It'd still be big money, but not as much. So it just we all have our ideas, and we all have, and that might be more, might be a good reason for him to get mad. I don't really know. You know.
Well,
But,
um, so now it was noted that in the end, Vince screwed Bret Hart because Vince was afraid that Bret was going to screw him. And if you ask Vince McMahon, he admits to it. He says, "Yeah, I screwed Bret Hart." But what came first was the protection of the company. So I mean, I
yeah,
get, it. I get it.
yeah.
Um,
Was that the time that I heard? I don't know if I heard of it, but the fast count.
yep, yeah, it was. It wasn't. No, it wasn't the fast count. It was Shawn Michaels end up putting Bret Hart in his own submission. It looked like a variation of your leg lock. As a matter of fact, it was the same thing. It was the same, the scorpion, like the scorpion death lock. It was the same thing.
Uh,
That death lock. He did the same move. That was Bret Hart's finisher, but Shawn Michaels ended up applying Bret Hart's finisher on himself. And I remember watching that pay-per-view live. I was like, that's weird. Why is he attempting to do that? And then all you heard was Vince McMahon's voice in the background. Ring the bell, ring the bell. And then as soon as he applied it, Earl Hebner rang the bell as if Bret Hart submitted. And they ran out of there like a thief in the night. You see Earl Hebner jump over the ring. He did a worker's jump. He jumped over the ring like a worker over the top rope and ran out of there. And then what you call it? You see Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, run down there and surround the ring just to try to protect Shawn Michaels, just in case anything happened. So Triple H ran down. It was a confusing thing, and then the pay-per-view just abruptly ended, just like that. It was weird. It was weird, and to see Vince McMahon
I heard
involved,
about that.
yeah,
I had
yeah.
heard about it, but I didn't know the particulars. I said, "Oh, Vince is hard to outwit."
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Well,
Um,
if he was getting his belt taken away, you know, I'm not taking for Vince, but it was his business. You know.
100%.
But sometimes people got a reason, and I'm sure you probably more than that happened. Maybe somebody, piles up, and eventually said, "Hey, enough is enough." You know.
Oh yeah,
But I heard he did he hit Vince. I heard he
yep. He punched him
slapped.
in. Yeah, and giving Vince credit, Vince felt like he owed him that much since he screwed him out of a title. He said, "You know what?" The son was like, "No, I'm going to stay right here." Vince was like, "No, leave me alone with Bret Hart. I deserve this." And Bret Hart cracked him, gave him a nice shiner in the eye, cracked him. And you seen Vince McMahon stumbling out. This happened in Montreal. It was called the Montreal Screw Job. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Montreal screw job.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, and so the Montreal screw job was a shot at the heart, and and it was well noted that it wasn't going to be the last. The men involved in the screw job was not only Vince McMahon, it was referee Earl Hebner and Shawn Michaels. Earl Hebner was asked before the match, uh, can he be trusted? And Earl Hebner gave his word that everything would be on the uppity up as far as for the matchup with Brett versus Shawn. And then Shawn Michaels was asked after the match, Shawn, at the end of the match, did he had anything to do with the situation that happened? Shawn's response was, "As God is my witness," and I'm roughly paraphrasing, "As God is my witness, I am clean of this situation. I was just as mad as you were. However, later on, it was found out that they were all in on the intricate plot to secure the heavyweight championship with the WWF." So yeah, they pretty much lied to Bret Hart and stuff like that as far as the referee and Shawn Michaels.
Wow.
The boss told them. The boss said that Vince said, if you're questioned about it, tell them that I had everything to do with it. Don't you let them know that you was part of it.
Well, that's man enough to That's good. I respect that.
Yeah, yeah,
Gonna
yeah.
try. I, yeah, I would time ago.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, within a few years, Bret Hart lost his mother, brother, through a tragic accident in the ring. I don't know if you ever heard about that. As far as with the
Yeah. Well, brother fell off.
Yep.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was your thoughts about that?
Oh wow, it's terrible. I mean, it's a freaky accident. I guess it was. I heard that there was a malfunction in the equipment or something.
Right. Vince ended
Yeah,
up.
that's shocking.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
He was a good guy. He was a good worker too.
Yeah. Owen Hart. He was a big ribber, though. I heard a lot of stories about him ribbing a lot of the boys in the back.
Yeah, I
um,
was good. And that's something.
oh yeah. So yeah. So they say he lost his brother through a tragic accident in the ring. His wife and his career from the accidental kick to the head by Bill Goldberg. That was I don't know if you heard of Bill Goldberg, but he had a match in WCW with Bill Goldberg, and Bill Goldberg, he gave one of those kicks, and he really legitimately kicked him. And we spoke about this, like in the ring, the main objective is I'm trusting my body with you, and you're trusting your body with me. So when a guy takes liberty,
Yeah.
I'm not saying Bill Goldberg did that on purpose, but that was really like that was fucked up. So that ended his career right there because I think it gave him a
Oh,
concussion, and he had something with his neck, issues with his neck after that. And the doctor said, "That's it. Your career is over. It's over."
yeah.
So
Jeez. That's sad. No, I never heard about that part.
yeah, yeah,
I didn't know you wrestled Goldberg.
yeah. Hmm. Um,
Yeah, you never know. I mean, sometimes let me tell you something. I've noticed a couple of times in my career that there were some guys that probably did it on purpose. There was a guy way back. I can't remember his name now. You remember you heard of Buddy Rogers?
yes,
Yeah. Uh, he did something one time to somebody. I can't remember all the details. Uh, Airplane spin or something and let him go. He slid right out of the ring. Yeah, there was some guys that didn't care about. They could hurt you,
right.
and I thought it was right because, like you said, you give your body.
Mm, that was
But
unbelievable.
you can cripple somebody. I mean, if you
Yeah,
know where to hit them, and
right. Well, after that incident, then Hart found himself confined to a wheelchair for three
really,
months. Yeah, for 3 months. Um, after suffering, uh, after suffering from a stroke, he was.
wow,
Yeah, yeah. So he was
wow,
after that situation. He used to bike ride and things like that just to try to keep himself in shape since he wasn't
oh,
wrestling. And then one day, while he was taking his normal route in Canada, he ended up suffering a stroke, and he felt his head. He fell head first, as far as on the concrete, off his bike, and he suffered a stroke from there. And then I believe that's what landed him inside a wheelchair. Um, that marked the lowest point of his life. But during that time, he was able to reflect, and it was also the beginning of his recovery. And he had a new outlook on life, more appreciative outlook. In 2003, just as Bret Hart's health was improving, his father's health was rapidly declining. He passed away that same year. Felt Bret Hart felt bitterness because Vince McMahon never got a chance to pay back his father. So I guess throughout that deal, there was still money left on the table as far as
yeah,
Vince ended up owing him and stuff, and he never like took care of it. So I mean,
Now, how is he doing now?
he's up and about now. He's fine. He's married and stuff like that. He's doing autograph signings. He's doing speaking engagements and stuff like that. So yeah, he's doing pretty well. He's doing pretty well. He had a chance to have his revenge match with Vince McMahon and stuff like that. But like Bret Hart said, things wasn't really the same. Um, and I'll be honest with you, like even me reading this whole situation and watching the documentary, which was a pretty good one. I urge everybody to see it. It's called Bret Hart Bitterness Documentary. That's what it's called. Bret Hart Bitterness Documentary. Um, and I don't know. I don't think it was bitterness. He did have a lot of things that happened to him in his personal life. Would
Oh yeah,
actually,
it's hard to deal when you lose some of your loved ones in the family, and it's not easy. And everybody deals with that different. Some people are stronger than others. Others, take it harder. I don't know how I would react. Stuff like that happened to me.
yeah, this is yeah, 100%. Yeah, we all react differently. You're right. Um, so then um, so then Bret Hart understood that when Vince when Vince when Vince took Stu Hart's territory, and the fact that Stu Hart let him, he was only looking out for the family, and Bret Hart at the end understood that. So I mean, yeah, Bret Hart felt in a way like why he gave away the family business, like pretty much to Vince McMahon for literally nothing. But I guess at the end, it was taking away more money away from the family than actually putting in. So by him selling it to Vince McMahon for whatever money Vince put in his pocket was probably worth more than him kind of losing money as far as so he had to think about the family, and I understand that, and Bret understood that at the end as far as he was putting the family
Oh
first
yeah,
when he made that move.
yeah, I can understand it too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've owned a couple of promotions, and it's not an easy thing. It's a money guzzler. It guzzles money. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah,
you don't love this sport, if you don't love this business, then and you look at it just as a moneymaker, you would quit instantly. But if you look at it as this is your passion, you'll stick around and you'll see it through. But yeah, whew, it's
yeah. You can have some good times and bad times.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know what it is today, but I remember in the old days, uh, school opened up, things went real slow. People went down. People had with their kids in school and all of that. There was certain period of the year, like July and August, when it was at the wrestling match. You were lucky if you drew 50 people because summer people get out and there was years that it was slow. Then some years, you know, I've been to some territories. It was unbelievable. They were selling out every night almost. You Other places, and it depends how it's run.
right.
Depends who was doing the booking, what kind of talent you had. And today, I can't imagine today. Well, today, but I've occasionally watched when I'm surfing, and I just don't like it. I hate to say that. I don't know what was that for. You know, they do stuff that's kind of out of place. They do it just because it's something to do.
Right.
I don't I don't understand. Now I've seen them get up from holes that my God, it would have been a pin or it would have been a disqualification. You know, or, you know, I remember one time I went over the top rope and I missed the rope because usually you hook the rope with your arm like this and you flip over the rope. Well, I was coming so fast that I missed the rope. I was diving head first. Well, I happened to roll enough to, I didn't get, I hurt a little, but not real bad. And I knew it looked good because the crowd reaction, whoo, that whole bit. And I laid there, let them carry me out, which I was okay. I couldn't walk, but I said, take advantage of it. You know, took advantage of stuff.
Right, right.
Again, my God, if I ever tried that again, I'd probably kill myself the second time. I was lucky. I was diving at first, and
And back
somehow I
then,
spun.
you guys didn't really have protection on the outside of the ring like there is now.
Oh no, yeah, solid concrete, you know.
Yep, there it is. Um, did you ever suffer any injuries?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was paralyzed one time. About 4 days I couldn't walk, and that
What?
scared. That's one thing that scared me the most in my life. Yeah, I was wrestling Randy Savage in
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah in Frankfort, Kentucky. I told you in the past. I think we were partners in a promotion.
Right.
You know, ICW. I uh, so I wrestled against Randy a lot. He was a champion, and he was a heel. I was babyface, and I was working there, and I forgot we gonna wind up on the floor somehow on the outside, and I went to pile drive him, you know, pick him up, pile drive him. He reversed it, and I went over his back. When I hit the concrete, it felt like the top of my head and the back blew up, and that my butt was gone. The electricity of my spine, I guess, you know, caused that, and there was no pain, and I'm on the floor. It's like I got the biggest electric shock, you know, possible. You know, my butt blew up, and the top of my head was, you know, and I'm laying there, and I went to roll, and I couldn't roll. I realized when I touched my legs, I had no feeling at all. It was totally, I couldn't move my upper body. I
Oh,
couldn't move anything. And they put me in the back of a van, put me in the back of a van because there was a wreck and the ambulance could not get there. I was laying on the floor and there was I think it was a lady and a man. They were doctors and they were talking to me. And so anyway, when the van got there, a wrestler had a van, uh, George Weingroff, as a matter of fact, and big old van, and it was empty in the back. So they put me on a piece of plywood, big heavy plywood. And they carried me and they slid me into the van, and they hauled ass to the hospital. Well, Frankfurt's a small town, and you know it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So I go in there, and of course, there's hardly anybody there working. Maybe a nurse, if I remember right, or one or two people. And so they decided to go take an X-ray. Well, they took an X-ray. All this time, I have no pain. I have no pain. Just numb, numb, numb. And anyway, they put me into a room, picked me up, put me into a bed. They put a brace on my neck. Uh, they thought my spine maybe was, you know. And I lay there all night thinking I'm gonna kill myself. If I don't walk again, you go crazy. Go crazy. You know, because you can't believe when you can't touch your legs and you this is just nuts. And so I thought the worst. The more you're laying there, the more you're thinking of all kinds of scenario. Your life, you know, won't be able to do this, don't do that. Anyway, 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe 5:30. Somebody came in the room. They had a monitor on me, you know, if I needed them to push the button. And but there was no doctor there to do much of anything. The doctor came and says, the X-rays are no good. We got to retake them. Well, I went down. They took all kinds of X-rays and everything. And the doctor says to me, he says, "You're a very lucky man." He says, "You bruised your spinal cord." And he says, "I've seen that before. It's rare." Because I told him, I says, "I got body, it's almost like a body slam, you know, on the concrete, you know, except I done a flip and move." And he says, "You probably hit the spinal cord just perfect. And that's why what you said about the top of your head and the butt, feeling that because it's electricity. And he says, "You're going to be paralyzed." He says, 3 days to 4 to 5. He says, "I don't think much more over 5 days, maybe sooner." You know, he says, "You need to go. We're going to put me into a
Rehab.
yeah." No, I didn't go to rehab. I went home. I had a girlfriend that came up from Knoxville, and they took me and laid me down on a hard floor. They had not a mattress, but a big carpet thing because they didn't want me to move. Be, a bed. You're laying down in the bed. You're not straight. So anyway, I laid like that on the floor. I had an apartment in Lexington, and he gave me some painkillers. And he said to me, he says, "Take that pill as soon as you feel pain. That's what you want. You want pain because pain, the feelings are coming back." And that's what happened. It took about 3 days, 3.5 days. I think it was afternoon. I was laying there, and all of a sudden, man, I got in my back. God, Lord! So I told my girlfriend, and so she gave me the pill. And they put you in La La Land, man. From then on, I knew everything was going on, but I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. And it took about 6, 7, 7, 8 days. And finally, she got me up. She went and got a neighbor. I wanted to stand up, and I stood up and couldn't go anywhere. Couldn't move my feet hardly. It took a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. It came back real fast. I was surprised. I was surprised, but there was nothing broke. So the doctor told me, he says, "Yeah, you heal fast when there's nothing broke, no cuts." There was no cuts. It was just a bruise on the spine. And, that spine controls everything.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, after that, I got body slammed. "Put me down, you son of a bitch." Yeah, but I was gun shy. I said, I thought it was going to happen again, you know. But at least the ring was not concrete. Concrete don't give. That's
Right.
why it was. But man, yeah, I got lucky. Very
Did
lucky.
did Macho Man ever apologize as far as for that situation?
Well, really, he didn't do that on purpose. I had him for a pile driver, and when I did, he just stood straight up, and I went over his back. So it was just a wrestling move, you know. And I hurt my own self. Really, lucky it turned out the way it is. But then my butt turned black, and in the back of my legs, I had two stripes. It was blue, black and blue, all the way down to my heels. Yeah,
That's from the muscle?
from the shock, I guess, the
Woo!
nerves. Yeah,
Wow.
that was about the only real serious thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I took that very serious. But then after that, it never. Well, I got back problem now, so you know, I wear a belt a lot. Big old belt, like when they work, you work, keeps your back tight. I don't
Right.
wear it all day long. But, yeah,
Is that
good
from,
Lord, good Lord was looking after me.
you could say that again? Yeah, 100%. Um,
Yep.
is that what you're suffering right now? Is that from the aftermath from that, or do you think that's
Well,
just
part of it, probably a lot of arthritis. I got a lot of arthritis because there was a lot of damage over years. I went to a doctor. I think it was 2 years ago. He told me. He said he named it all what was wrong with my back, blah blah, and there's not much you can do about it. That's what he told me. There was so much, but I think two and all arthritis. Arthritis is what makes it worse.
right, right,
Get old, arthritis will set in. No, two and alls do well, take the pain away. You know, I don't know how long it's going to last like that, but so far so good.
okay. Oh man, that's whew.
But I can't go to a promoter and say, "Hey, I want to make a comeback."
I mean, well, okay. Speaking about that, right? I have to play devil's advocate. If a promoter hired you to be a special guest referee, okay, even better, not inside referee, an outside enforcer referee, would you do it?
Yeah, I've done a lot of it. I haven't in a long time, but after I retired, a lot of them called me, and I said, "Well, I'll do it that way." You're a special referee, but I'm not in the ring. I'm outside, and it's easy because what happens is I wind up knocking out the guy. There's a guy coming in the ring to help.
Right.
But there, and when he goes by me, boom, big old pop. People go nuts. Well, it's logical. I'm not going to the ring and start fighting and everything.
Right.
Sucker punch him when he goes
Exactly.
by.
Hey, listen, all you got to do is deliver them hands of stone, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Yep.
Listen, hey, this has been fun as far as I guess, hey, me and you, we learned some stuff with this documentary. I hope you
Yeah.
get, you know,
Yeah.
to. I know you watched
Yeah.
majority
Oh,
of
yeah.
it to see the ending.
Watch what?
No, I know you watched majority of the documentary, but to see the
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was pretty. My outlook on Bret Hart has changed a little bit ever since watching this documentary. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, I was one of those. I was a Bret Hart fan back in the early '80s, and then when he started doing that whole "I hate USA, I'm only for everybody else across the world, but United States could go straight to hell." That's when I was like, he was more like the crybaby persona.
Well, what I found that, well, there was the reason in the old days, if you were a heel, you wanted heat, you know, you wrestled as a Russian, because of the war and all that. And anyway, they always used the Japanese during the war. Japanese were big heels in the state. You know, uh, Toru Tanaka. You but I never insulted the country. Because if you knock the country you're in. You know, but yeah, I think he's a good guy. I liked him. I don't know him very, very, very well, but I liked him. I respect him. Nice family. You know, as a matter of fact, one time we still got it at home. I think we got a picture of him and his wife. Yeah.
With your camera. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh no.
The camera's off.
Oh no. It was in a Christmas card. He had sent us a Christmas card.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was right after not long after I had retired. Yeah, that was nice of him. We still got that picture. It's still up.
nice. Well, one last thing. How was it in the Survivor Series that night? As far as working with, how was it in the locker room during that Survivor Series? That's when you was part of the 4x4. I don't know if you
Yeah.
had back then.
Yeah,
Well,
well, we went in the ring, and you do your thing, I do my thing, and everybody just do whatever you got to do. We kept tagging in and out. We weren't in the ring all at the same time.
but
You know, but yeah, it got over. I think that was a good angle. I mean, a good. It was a one night thing. You couldn't
right,
go around it. Because I never liked. Once in a while, it'd be okay to tag team with somebody, but I like single matches.
single matches.
You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was what I wanted to do, and two minds can't work the same at the same time. You know, I had some good partners, but single matches was better for me.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. All right. Hey, I always gotta ask. Did you have fun this episode?
Yeah, yeah, that's fun.
Good, good, good. So that's it,
Well, I
man.
learned a lot about some of the boys.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I know I did. uh, we're gonna wrap it up. I guess next time
All right.
we'll be going more into the old school era, as far as in the early '80s of professional wrestling. We'll be diving into that unless something else pops up, unless Vince McMahon starts opening up the XFL all over again or does something crazy for us to talk about. We'll just dive back into that early '80s of professional wrestling in general. What I want to do is actually, like, with a fine comb, cover the territories that you actually was part of, one territory at a time, as far as cover all the parts that happened to you in that territory.
Yeah, I've been in quite a few.
Yeah.
Not as much as some guys. I know some guys that went, and I've probably been in at least a dozen, maybe more. You know.
Okay.
It's mainly in the south and the east. Never had much to do with the west. The west has when I first started, but I wasn't there but a month. Yeah, it'll be. I can remember almost every place I've been.
Right. It's one of those things when somebody's discussing a story with you, that's what triggers your mind. It's like, oh shoot, I remember this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Because you can't think of everything. It's like when they ask you who's the best wrestler, who's the best guy that you ever worked with. Well, right off the bat, there's a bunch of them. It's not just one.
yeah.
I never liked the question, because
Bravo. Any
and who's to say who's the best? Really,
that's subjective.
you're a, say you're a wrestling fan. You see a match, you love it. Another person might not like it as much. It'd be
Right.
okay because it's not a bad match, but might not go as crazy as you would if you loved it and you did this, and the style of wrestling is different.
Right.
There's a lot of great guys. I think I don't think it's fair to just say so and so is the greatest ever, even in boxing, even in any sport, you know, because they're going to, and if it's not at the time, somebody's going to equal your damn record.
Which is true. Which is
Yeah,
true.
really,
Oh,
somebody's going to equal it or surpass it or whatever.
I definitely agree. Oh man.
What really makes my day is when I go places and sign autographs. You get a guy in the '70s or whatever says, "You're my favorite wrestler. I've been watching you since I was a kid." Well, I had to be a kid too because usually they're pretty close to my age. but 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 the part that I really admire is this guy remembered and what is it, a move, something we done. So, it left a mark in his memory, you know, because how many things you forget? If you went to a wrestling match as a kid and now you're in your '70s and you still remember, it must have been something.
Yeah. I remember the promo that Greg the Hammer Valentine shot after you beat him the first time. It was Tony Schiavone on the outside of the ring, and Greg the Hammer was like, "What? What you say? Let me tell you something. If Rugged Ronnie Garvin could beat me in this squared circle," and I remember the tone. He said, "I'll leave professional wrestling forever." he just walked away. He started swinging on Jimmy Hart, and he just swung his arm at Jimmy Hart. He was pissed off and everything. I was like, holy shit. I said, "Oh my God. You heard those slaps? You heard those chops from woo to the nosebleed section. Oh my God. Oh man."
Yeah, I love the one about Flair. He says he split my skin all over, and I did, but he was bleeding. He had blood in his chest, and he said, "What did he say?" Oh, he said, "Yeah." He says, "I went for 2 weeks or a month or whatever with Neosporin. I had to pour Neosporin all over my chest."
Oh God.
The
What are you
guy
gonna do?
never complained.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rick was a great. Rick was another great one. Yeah, yeah. Oh boy.
And there's a lot of guys like that. There was a lot of good guys, and it was just like any other business. There's some so-so, some a little better, but it's impossible to be all equal. But
Mhm.
when you're at the top, the guys, the, that's that's good enough for me. I don't have to be number one in anything. Jeez, you know.
You said something very key in our conversation. It's all about the impact. When you make an impact in somebody's life, that they remember what
Yeah.
you did, what your opponent said, what the commentator said, their response. You did your job. You did your job.
Oh yeah, yeah. When they say that, it's like it's a big compliment. It is. Don't have to say anymore.
I believe your first match that you beat Greg the Hammer Valentine, you had on the green trunks. You had on the green trunks. Green trunks, yellow boots, if I'm not mistaken.
Yellow
That's
and
what
red. Yellow and red.
yellow. Oh, yellow
Red
and red?
and red. Yeah.
And red. Okay. Okay. Yep. 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 And then you came through with the hammer jammer to try the shin guard, the reverse shin guard.
Yeah. Remember when I was sitting face to face, we're locked up our legs, you know?
You went,
Going,
oh, man. Moments, man. And oh, another classic moment. What was it? What was the word that you was bringing out when you was the special announcer? Were you the announcer for
yeah,
SummerSlam?
I was the announcer. Yes, I was. That was a pay per view. It was a pay.
SummerSlam. It
I
was
announced him as the worst wrestler in the world, and I said he has two left feet, and I forgot what else I said. Anyway, I insulted him pretty good, and he's going, "Oh, man, I'm
what?
wearing, I'm wearing a tuxedo."
Oh,
Yeah,
those were the days, man. You didn't,
yeah,
and you didn't have to. And that was, you see, the thing about the '80s. There was things that guys did that was memorable, and it wasn't even inside the ring.
yeah,
And when I say inside the ring, I'm talking about wrestling inside the ring.
yeah,
Like your stuff with being a referee, that was memorable.
yeah.
With you and Bravo going at it, memorable. Um, um, well,
That was
I meant to ask you, Dino Bravo. I think I've asked you before, but I know his life came into a sad end. But do you have any stories, anything that you share about with Dino Bravo?
yeah, yeah. I got one. Uh, yeah, he flew with me too. We on my airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few times. And that was a summer when I worked for him, Canada, in 1985. You know, uh, we went to Canada working with the Rougeos. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Dino was the promoter.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And yeah, I got a few. One time I was in the gym and I was working out. I think it was 165
Mm-hmm.
bench press, I think, and I would do reps. You know, I forgot I'd go up to 20, I think. Anyway, gosh, you burning, you know. And anyway, he came by and he says, he was a hey, he bench pressed 500 pounds, but he was slow, he was a power guy.
Right.
Hey, he walks by and he says, pussy weight. I said, well, you ought to try it. Yeah, I do that with one arm. He says before breakfast or something like that. So anyway, I said, well, anytime you want to try it, I said, I'll bet you a dinner. He never done a lot of reps. I was doing reps and reps and reps and reps. Of course, that weight for him was nothing. But you do it 40 times. I think I would do 15, go up to 20, 25, 30, 35, and come back down. You know, and oh shit. He tried it and got stuck. He didn't talk to me for a whole entire week.
Wow. His
He
ego
was
was crushed.
pissed. And he went home, I guess, and done it because he says, "Nah, I can do it." He never realized the reps. I mean, you burn out.
Right.
See, he was not. He didn't have the what do you call it? The
Condition.
adrenaline to do. You know, when you work out like that, a lot of reps, you can take 5, 10 pounds. They get heavier and heavier and heavier as you go. You know, and usually you used to bench and do about 3 reps. Or twice. Heavy. You know, but your body's not conditioned for that. Yeah, he didn't talk to me for 2 weeks, and he bought me my dinner though.
Wow. Oh, he did. He was a man of
Oh,
his
yeah. But it took about 2, 3 weeks. You had to cool down.
word.
Yeah, you had to cool down.
Did he ever go back to try to prove you wrong?
Oh yeah, I mean, he did it. He went home and practiced. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he went home and probably, but right off the bat like that, you're not going to do the same thing,
It was
especially
kind of
when you never done.
it was sad how his life was taken away. He was were you aware about his involvement with organized crime?
Uh, well, I knew he knew a lot of mobsters, because we went to a nightclub one time, him and Road Warrior Hawk, and we went to this nightclub that was owned by a gangster, and we had a good time. You know, it was during the Go Go. That was in the '80s. There were
Right.
dancing girls, and stuff. And but yeah, well, he's Italian, and the mom was Italian, Montreal. So I'm sure he made friends and he got involved in the wrong deal, man. It's easy to do. Once you join, and better think about it twice. I've got asked to go up there one time to collect money.
Really?
There was what do you call it? Uh,
Loan shark?
the guys at Loan Shark. Yep.
Wow.
We just worked a weekend. It was a weekend thing, and the guy told me I knew he was loaning money, but one time he asked me, he says, "Man, you'll work 5 days a week, and you'll make yourself about $2,500 a week in a few hours." And I got to think about it. It's not bad money. You know, and for doing nothing, just scaring the hell out of people. But you never know what's going to happen. What if the guy decides to jump me and I got to kill his ass, or I got to hurt him bad, go to
Right.
the hospital? You know, you don't want to pay, or you never know who you're dealing with. He might get so damn scared he can shoot me. You're not allowed to have handguns in Canada, so I wouldn't have ever carried a gun. You know. But anyway, long story short, what'd you say? Storming. Oh, it's storming over here. I gotta go outside. I got some stuff I gotta cover. We're in the park
Okay.
here.
All
Yeah,
right. So hey,
I didn't know it
listen.
was raining. We got dark windows.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Listen, I enjoyed this
I'm
episode.
okay.
Uh, till next time, Story from the Road to the Ring. I'm your host, Lorenz Dean, and this was the star from Story from the Road to the Ring, Rugged Ronnie Garvin. Take care.
Well, have a good one, my friend.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna go in the rain now. Yeah,
All right.
we got a bunch of stuff outside that we got to cover up.
That needs to get up.
Yeah, we're in an RV park. I'll take a picture and show you sometimes.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. You have a good night.
All right. Take
Take
care. Be
care.
safe. Tell Glenda I said later. All right.
All right. Have your will. Take care.
All right.